Hello, Steve White, TrekBoy89 for Steve Arts 89. Well, it's the 55th anniversary of Star Trek, and today was Star Trek Day. They had a live streaming event in America at around 8:30 p.m, which was about 10 a.m. in Australia, and I was planning to watch it, but unfortunately I woke up around 8:30 and went back to sleep for a bit and slept right through it. I guess subconsciously I didn't want to see it because I didn't wake up till around 12:45, 1 o'clock, and it was just till the end of it. I saw the Star Trek Picard Season 2 trailer and just the very, very end. And they seem to be going for kind of a 30th anniversary ceremony sort of feel where they had people on a stage and live music and kind of a formal sort of fancy sort of event feel. I didn't really see the panels or what was discussed, but I did read a few articles that sort of went through the news that was sort of announced. They did show some clips. There was the Prodigy Season 1 trailer with more footage, and there was the Lower Decks Season 2 trailer with more footage. There was the Picard Season 2 trailer. There was a clip from Star Trek The Motion Picture, the 4K restoration, just like one shot from each version, a little comparison. And they did a video for Strange New Worlds, but I think a lot of people were hoping for a proper trailer for Strange New Worlds, but we didn't get it. What we did get was a little introduction where they had the 9 main sort of characters, or I assume the 9 main characters, 9 actors from the show, introducing themselves and their characters, which is kind of interesting. More so for the uniforms, which I'll get into after I go into who actually was in it. Of course, they start off with Anson Mount, who's playing Christopher Pike, and of course Ethan Peck, who's playing Spock. I keep wanting to call Ethan Spock. And then they had Rebecca Romaine, who is playing Una Chin Riley, so we get her full name, and she sort of implied that we've got a lot to learn about her because we don't know much about her. And then we had, what wasn't a real surprise, we had Celia Rose Gooding revealed as playing Nyota Uhura, which we kind of knew because she was in linguistics and everything. So it's not a huge surprise, but there are some issues with the continuity, which I'll get into later. And we had Jess Bush playing Nurse Chapel, because there was a bit of confusion about was she going to be playing Nurse Chapel or Colt. But Ensign Colt really, as far as we know, didn't work in sickbay, so it seemed pretty clear it's going to be Nurse Chapel, and it is. And then, of course, we had Babs. I'm not going to try and say his last name, and I like calling him Babs because that's what the gays call Barbara Streisand. So Babs is playing Dr. M. Benga, who was in the original series because McCoy wasn't the only doctor on the ship, but he's sort of replacing Boyce, or what was the name of the other doctor in? Because there were 2 parts of 2 different doctors before McCoy came on the first episode of the regular series. And then we have Melissa Nevia, who is playing Erica Ortegas. We don't really know much about her. She's just happy to be there. We have Christina Chong, and that's an interesting one because she was revealed to be playing a character called Leanne Noonien Singh. So the implication is that she's a descendant of Khan, which I don't understand how that works because he was genetically engineered. So how could one of his children, how could he be allowed to? I don't know where they're going with that. I don't think anyone does. We'll see where that goes. And then the last actor we saw was Bruce Horak, who is actually legally blind, and he's playing a white Andorian who I don't think anyone knew about. And I'm just glad that the weird sort of red-faced witch demon-looking creature that was in the last scene that we saw of Pike and that before they disappeared in Season 2 of Star Trek Discovery. I'm glad she's not in it because I just didn't want to see that character as a regular character. I'd rather have an Andorian. So yeah, it's interesting. I don't know where they're going with the Khan thing. And so far as Uhura, there's some issues here because the fact files state she was born in 2239, and Memory Alpha says she was born in 2240, so that sort of establishes her age. But Wikipedia states she was born 2233, January 19 specifically, and that's from the USS Enterprise Officer's Manual, which was published in 1980, but I don't really think that's canon. I think Fact Files and Memory Alpha are more canon, so I'm not quite sure if the age really works because the show is supposed to be 10 or 11 years before the original series, so it would be around 55, 56, and Uhura was established as joining Starfleet in 65, like in the first year of the 5-year mission, because there's about a year between the first pilot and the first episode, which a lot of people don't realise. And she came on during that period. She wasn't there in the original pilot when Kirk first took command. She came on later. So the idea that she was on the Enterprise before that, I mean, she would have, if she was born in 1940, she would have had to have been about 16 when she was on the ship as a cadet. Is that possible? Maybe. Now, if she was born in 33, like the officer's manual says, then obviously, you know, she's got an extra 7 years, so she could have been early 20s, which seems plausible. Now, in the movies, the alternative Uhura, who I guess would have been born at the same time, in the same age, she meets Kirk at the bar fight in 2255, and it's 2258 after he gets out of Starfleet Academy that he meets her again on the Enterprise, when she gets put on the Enterprise. So, I don't know how it works. I guess it kind of can be done, but yeah, it's a bit iffy. But I don't know, the actress seems fine. I had heard she was trans, and I reported that in my first video, because I heard that after I did the first video, and I just added it on the front. I haven't heard that since, so that might have been a rumour or gossip or a mistake, so not that it matters, but she seems to look quite the part playing Uhura, even though she's got the short hair and doesn't look exactly like her. And I don't know, all the other actors seem fine. I think the uniforms are interesting. I'm glad they got rid of the big necks, because the collars on the Discovery uniforms, when they coloured them and just made them black, they did seem really kind of too much. But now they've sort of removed them all together, and the uniforms look more like the uniforms from the JJ films, where they're sort of like V-neck, long-sleeve soccer jersey sort of material sort of tops. So they're going for that look, but instead of having the raised collar undershirt, they've got like just a regular undershirt. So you can see that little black collar under there, but it's not as pronounced. So they sort of went from one extreme to the other. And there's a different form of uniform as well. Also, they have a zip collar, which seems to have different coloured panels under the arms as well. And that's like a higher neck, and most people seem to wear it undone. And we see Una and Nyota wearing that. And we see the Doctor's uniform is interesting, because McCoy's uniform was the only one that had a collar the same colour, the one that he wore, which was sort of like a satin one. And this one, he's the only one who has the built-in black collar. So they've kind of kept the similar design, but they've made the collar black, so that's a bit weird. Now, the other Nurse Chapel's uniform seems to look a lot more like the white uniforms that they had in Discovery. So I'm liking the more relaxed sort of shirt sort of feel, but I think they kind of should have stuck with the exposed sort of higher sort of undershirt collar. I think that did work. That was probably I really liked the original JJ movie uniforms, rather than the later ones with the risen collars. So yeah, that's interesting. I'm kind of glad they did it, but they never quite seem to get it right, kind of because they can't just replicate the original because of all the licensing issues and that. But yeah, it's interesting. I don't know. I just can't. All I see is even Peck's neck. It's just it's just so much. After sort of seeing them all sort of hidden by these big black collars. But the material looks good. They've got a little bit of embroidery and pattern on the shoulders to give it some texture, so it's not just plain material, so it's got a bit of detail for the HD cameras and everything, and the HD screens. The collar is actually, the V-neck is actually a bit more pronounced. Instead of just being a little seam, it's more like an actual collar that matches the same colour as the rest of the uniform. And then, like I said, the undershirt's a bit light. I don't know. I'm curious to see how it all goes. I'm curious to see if Christina Chong is actually going to be, you know, one of Khan's children. I don't know. But yeah, there's not much more to say about it. I'm curious to see how the Andorian works out. The makeup looks great. Yeah, I'm glad they've tried to make it a bit more like Star Trek. And they're trying to go a bit more for the feel of the original series, but I'm trying to be optimistic, but I'm going to remain cautious, because there's just so many sort of negative sort of things that have happened with Discovery and Picard that I can't get my hopes up too high. But I am hoping for an episodic series, and Kevin Guzman did talk about the whole Star Trek moral of the week sort of thing, the way they sort of had sort of levels to the stories and so forth, and that they implied they're going to try and do that with this show. So I'm going to remain optimistic and remain hopeful, but we'll see what happens. I'm going to go. Feel free to share, like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you think. I would wear that uniform at a convention, kind of like the one from season 2. I didn't mind that also. I just would have had the collar stuck down a bit more. But yeah, I'm gonna leave it there. Thanks. Bye.